If you believe oil feeds your roots, I need you to watch this carefully.
Because oil never actually reaches your hair bulb. Very important point.
Welcome back to this channel and let's dive right into today's topic. And before we talk about anything, I want us first to understand the structure of our scalp. And so, your scalp is made of...
The scalp is made of 1. The epidermis, the outer skin barrier.
Number 2. The dermis contains the hair follicles, blood vessels, and oil glands. Number 3. Hypodermis, the fat layer for cushioning. Number 4. Hair follicle, living structure that produces hair. Number 5. Sebaceous glands, that produces natural oil called sebum.
So, now you have known that your scalp is made of epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, hair follicle, and sebaceous glands. So, when you apply oil, it mostly interacts with the outer epidermis and the opening of the hair follicle, but it does not penetrate deep into the hair bulb where hair growth happens. So, let's answer this question. What scientifically happens when you apply oil? You will find that most plant oils like coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil, etc., they are occlusive agents, meaning they sit on the skin and form a hydrophobic film, that is water resistant layer. And so this does two major things. And the first thing, it reduces the water loss. It helps to reduce water loss, that is, your scalp constantly loses water through evaporation, but now oil slows this water loss by sealing moisture inside. And as a result, your scalp feels softer, less dryness, and reduced flaking from hydration. But remember, oil does not add water. Remember that. It only traps the existing moisture. After this, we are going to see about sebum interaction. Are you adding or blocking? Because your scalp naturally produces oil through the sebaceous glands. So, this is what happens when you apply more oil. I'm talking about more oil because it is not bad to apply oil on your scalp. Although your scalp is producing its own oil, it is also good to apply some more oil. So when you apply some more oil, your scalp you increase the surface lipids, you change the scalp oil balance, and you may alter the scalp microbiome. So, some other times, there are people who over apply oil. So, if you overdo, that oil can mix with dead skin cells, that oil can trap sweat, and that oil can clog follicle openings, and that oil can also create buildup. And this is why some people experience itching after heavy oiling. So when you are applying oil on your scalp, ensure that your scalp is clean to avoid all that. You get the point? We go to the next question, and the next question is, can oil reach the hair root? Okay, this is one of the biggest misunderstanding in hair care, and I want to try my best to explain this, and to answer this question properly, we need to understand where the hair root actually is. Because when we get to understand where the hair root is, now we will have the answer for this question. And so, the hair root which people talk about is biologically called the hair bulb. I shared a diagram and you saw where the hair bulb is. So now this hair bulb is the hair root that people talk about, and it is located at the bottom of the hair follicle. And now inside this bulb is the dermal papilla. I want you to get this. It is inside that bulb we have the dermal papilla, which contains the blood vessels. We have the matrix cells, which are rapidly dividing cells that create hair, and we have the melanocytes, which gives the hair color. Okay, those three are found now in the hair bulb. And now here is the most important part. Now the hair bulb sits deep in the dermis. You have also seen the dermis, and sometimes it extends towards the hypodermis. So it is several millimeters below the skin surface. That is very deep compared to where oil sits. Okay, now do you understand? Do you get to understand where this hair bulb is found? It is found deep in the dermis. Sometimes it extends towards the hypodermis, and it is several millimeters below the skin surface. Now this brings us to the next question, which is, now what happens when you apply oil on the scalp? Now when you apply oil, it spreads across the stratum corneum. Oh my god. That is the outermost skin layer, and it enters the follicular opening. That is the tiny hole where hair exits, and it coats the hair shaft above the skin or the scalp. I want to repeat that once again because maybe you have never heard of this. When you apply oil, I want you to get, because there are three main things that happens when you apply oil. It spreads across the stratum corneum, that is the outermost skin layer, that is your scalp. Now it will extend across your scalp. The next thing, it enters the follicular opening. This is the tiny hole where hair exits. Okay, if you have seen, let's say when you shave your hair, you will see that when your hair now starts growing, it's like it is coming out of a tiny hole. And so that is now the follicular opening. That is where now the oil will enter. And the third thing, now the oil coats the hair shaft above the skin or above the scalp. But here is the biological barrier. The skin or the scalp is designed to prevent deep penetration of substances. Do I repeat that once again? The skin is designed in a way to prevent deep penetration of substances. So, when we talk of deep penetration, we mean these substances, they will penetrate, but now not that deep. Do you get the point? It will penetrate, but not that deep. So, the outer layer, that is the stratum corneum, that is the outermost skin layer, is made of the dead keratinized cells, the lipid matrix, and the tiny barrier system. Now, this barrier is what limits how much can pass through there. Up to that point, are we together? Are you getting to learn something? Please, if you are learning something, share this video and also get to comment down there below. So, we are not yet done answering our questions. The next question that we will answer is, now can this oil travel down the follicle canal? The hair follicle has a canal. where the hair shaft passes through. Do you get that? The hair shaft. We have said that when you apply your oil, that oil is going to coat the hair shaft above the scalp or above the skin. So now, this hair shaft, it is where the hair follicle has a canal where the hair shaft now passes through. So now oil can enter slightly into the follicle opening. Okay? Note that oil can enter slightly into the follicle opening. The oil can mix with the natural sebum, and the oil can sit around the upper follicle. Okay? Do I repeat that once again? Oil can enter slightly into the follicle opening. Oil can mix with the natural sebum, and oil sits around the upper follicle. But it cannot travel down to the dermal papilla because the follicle canal narrows, the sebum flow outward and not inward. Okay? Do you get that? Sebum, the natural oil, it flows outside and not inward. And there is no active transport system pulling oil down. There is no active transport system pulling oil down. And the skin barrier resists massive diffusion of large molecules. Okay, do I repeat those four statements? Now, oil cannot travel down to the dermal papilla because the follicle canal narrows, sebum flows outward, not inward. There's no active transport system pulling oil down, and the skin barrier resists massive diffusion of large molecules. And therefore, you will find that most of plant oils, like for example, coconut oil, olive oil, those plants oil, they are not bad, no, but I just want you to get my point. So most of those plant oils, they are made of large triglyceride molecules which are too big to diffuse deeply. When I say molecule, what do I mean? So you'll find that for a substance to penetrate deeply, it must have 1. Have low molecular weight, 2. Be lipophilic, that is flat soluble, and 3. Be small enough, that is less 500 Dalton's rule in dermatology. And that's why most oils that we use are too large. They have too large molecules to penetrate deeply into living follicle structures. So even when that oil enters the follicular opening, because we have said that when we apply oil, that oil do enter the follicular opening, it does not reach the matrix cell, it does not reach the dermal papilla blood vessels, and it does not directly stimulate cell division. Have you heard what I have said? I have said these are oils which are too large, they don't penetrate deeply. Okay, I am talking of those oils that are too large, so they will only enter the follicular opening, but they will not reach the matrix cells, they will not reach the dermal papilla blood vessel, and they will not directly stimulate cell division. And that's why oil cannot biologically feed the hair roots. We are not yet done answering our question. So now the next question will be, so how does this hair root get nourished? If oil doesn't nourish the roots, so how does these hair roots get nourished? Now, these hair roots, the hair bulb, they receive nutrients from blood vessels in the dermal papilla, oxygen supply, hormonal signaling, and internal nutrition, like for example vitamins, ions, protein. And this nourishment happens from inside the body, not from topical oil. So oil does not connect to the blood stream. Okay? Oil does not connect to the bloodstream. So that is now how the hair roots get nourished. We go to the next question. And the next question is, why do people think that oil feeds the roots, the hair roots? Because after oiling, hair feels softer, breakage reduces, scalp feels somehow moisturized, and massage increases blood flow. So, less breakage equals to more length retention. Remember that. More length retention equals to hair appearing to be growing faster. But biologically, growth rate remains controlled by genetics and hormones. We go to the next question, and the next question will be, what about essential oils? For example, rosemary. So, some studies suggest that rosemary oil may influence hair growth. However, it must be diluted. Effects are mild. It likely works by influencing inflammation and circulation. It still does not reach the bulb directly like a drug would. So, even medications like minoxidil are specially formulated to enhance penetration. So that's why they work, because I believe minoxidil is a drug. So it is formulated to penetrate. So it will work because it will penetrate. Okay. But now, regular oils is not engineered for deep follicular delivery. Having said all that, I know most people will not agree with me, but now the final scientific conclusion will be, can oil reach the hair root? One, we will say it may enter the upper follicle opening slightly. Of course, oil do enter there, but it does not reach the dermal papilla. Like, that is the scientific reality. It does not directly stimulate the hair matrix cells. It does not biologically feed the roots. I know some of you may not agree because there is that which we already know. But oil does not feed the roots. Like, I have told you what feeds the roots. Oil does not feed the roots. And so oil works mostly by reducing moisture loss, lubricating hair, reducing protein loss. For example, coconut oil, supporting scalp comfort. Actually, oil is good. It does a lot of benefit to your hair. And also, oil supports the environment, like the scalp environment, but does not control the growth engine. Like, oh my God, that is the scientific reality. Oil does not control the growth engine unless you use some medication or a drug, but not oil. So, can oil reach the hair roots? Now you have your answer. And that's all for today's video. Have you learned something new? Do you like what I'm sharing? Comment something down there below. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel and let's continue learning together.